All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the all KISS related podcast, the KISS Confidential Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Devin Dunnigan, and here with me is Mr. Stephen Mott. How you doing, brother?
My mic will not unmute. But however, I'm doing great and no. Back to you, Devin.
All righty, so today we're going to start this podcast off with our track by track breakdown review of the 1985 album Kiss Asylum. So, this was the third in the non makeup canon, produced by Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, released September 16th, 1985, recorded June through July 1985, recorded at Electric Lady Studios and Right Track Recording Studios in New York City, New York, and this featured one single off the record, Tears Are Falling, even though three music videos were made all together, with Who Wants to Be Lonely and All Night being the other two videos, along with Tears Are Falling. The very first album to feature Bruce Kulick on lead guitar, even though he did do some uncredited work on Animalize. And yeah, this is an interesting record. To me, this is a pretty underrated record. This was kind of, to me, Kiss going back to kind of that 70s sound in the 1980s. And I mean, even with the album cover, you have like the makeup on or the lipstick on their faces with that kind of are an homage to the 70s solo albums. And I mean, you've got red for Gene, purple for Paul, blue for Bruce Kulick. So yeah, people are going to get mad about that because that's an imposter. And then green for Eric Carr, which to me that don't make very good sense. That should have been orange because I mean Eric Carr was the fox when they were in makeup. But I mean overall, I think this is a pretty underrated record. And yeah, I was talking about the imposter stuff. I mean, it's just kind of funny to me. I mean, people get upset now, and I understand. I get the hate that kind of the modern Kiss lineup has, but at the same time, I mean, it is what it is to me. I mean, it's been going on this long. I completely understand why they did it. It was for money. And yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to say about this record, even though it is my second favorite non-makeup Kiss album. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, Revenge is their favorite, and then maybe Lick It Up's their second favorite." And Revenge would probably be like my third favorite. I think I would probably take maybe Crazy Nights over this. I mean, over Revenge, to be quite honest. But I mean, pretty much I discovered this record, I would have to say, from the Rock and Metal Combat podcast back in the day, or maybe the Almost Human 56 YouTube channel is where I discovered this. And I've always liked this record. And I think I've more or less grown to like it more over the years because there were some songs that I used to not like off this record that I do enjoy now. So, yeah, I mean, Steven, how did you come to discover this record?
Pretty much through kind of just thumbing through the YouTube channel pretty much. And before, I didn't know about the members of KISS or none of that. Uh, really, I mean, I knew of some of them, but not really in detail. But I mean, really, I just kind of discovered. I heard you talk about it some, and then I knew it was kind of the newer era. If that makes any sense, but really, I didn't know much else about it. And then when I listened to it, it struck me as a lot different than the sound before, and then later it made more sense because Devin said it was produced by on paper, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, but really Paul Stanley, and that makes a lot of sense because just of this difference and the sound. Um, and anyway, I mean, just an overall, I really don't, I don't mind this record that much. the other one, and that was I can't remember the name of it because I'm an idiot. The name of it is Animalize. This is a great album. So back to you, Devin.
All right, and yeah, talking about the Paul Stanley thing, I mean, yeah, it's widely known that Paul took the reins around this time and did pretty much all the heavy lifting with the band, and I mean, he kept the band going in the '80s, and I mean, people complain about, oh, Kiss is following trends, but I mean, he was keeping Kiss relevant at the time. Now, whether you agree with them following trends or not, I'm kind of in the middle there. I wish they would have stayed more true to their older sound, but at the same time, I think you did have to progress from the kind of simple meat and potatoes rock and roll that they were doing back then. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I love that old stuff. And I mean, we'll talk a lot about that as we go on. But with this record and all the other '80s albums, I mean, it was Kiss following trends, and this was going more into kind of the glam and hair metal kind of sound. And the next record was kind of more of a progression on this album. But I would say that where you had Lick It Up progressing from Creatures of the Night, and then Animalize kind of going a little bit farther from there, this record did kind of lighten the sound up a little bit. And I think it is a bit more, it kind of reminds me of like Rad or Motley Crue from that time period, or maybe like Dokken. I mean, some of this stuff reminds me of like a Dokken album, like Under Lock and Key or something like that, or Tooth and Nail. But I mean, we'll go ahead and get on into this record. I mean, the first track on here is King of the Mountain. So the drum intro was kind of an off the cuff thing. This was not planned to be the intro to the song, but it was Eric Carr warming up in the studio, and they just basically decided to use it on the final album. And I think it's actually a really, really great song, a great opener for this album. Kind of, to me, I'll be honest with you, the last great Paul opener. I mean, Paul never did really do a opening song as good as this since. And I mean, I know people love Psycho Circus, Modern Day Delilah, Hill or Hallelujah. I mean, Crazy Nights is kind of out of the question for me, as is Rise to It. But I mean, then you have Unholy and Hate for the next two records. But to me, this was like the last good quintessential Paul opener. And I just love the song. I mean, it's a great opening song. Was performed live. It did open one show. I think it was performed like once or twice, maybe a few more times after that. I could be terribly wrong, but overall, I do love the song. I love the middle breakdown with Bruce. I mean, Bruce Kulick just brought so much more life to this band when he joined. To me, he was like the perfect addition. I mean, forget Vinnie Vincent and Mark St. John. I mean, no disrespect to what they brought to the band, but to me, this was like the real replacement for Ace. Like, he brought his own sound. He didn't have an ego. I've never heard a bad thing about Bruce Kulick ever. So, yeah, I love this song. Great opening track. So, Steven, take King of the Mountain.
This is the most memorable one off the whole record to me by far. You know, because I guess, you know, when I listen to it, I just don't really, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is when I actually, you know, when I listen to it, I don't make it all the way through it most of the time all at once. Just because when it gets midway through, it starts getting like retarded. So, but anyway, I mean, pretty much this song is really good, like you said, perfect opener, and pretty much, I mean, you just got, I mean, this stupid song that it's just retarded, and you can tell Gene Simmons had nothing to do with this song, nothing to do with this album, and no one else did but Paul. and that's very evident because I mean I just don't know. I really don't. I mean this is just stupid. Back to you.
Alrighty, so we move to the next track on here. Any way you slice it. So this is pretty much stereotypical Gene of that time period. This is like Fits Like a Glove, or the previous song on Animalize, which I mean I'm not going to say it because I want to keep this kind of at least somewhat family friendly. And I like the song a lot. I think this is much better than the previous albums. Kind of stereotypical Gene song. I, it to me, this album as a whole is a very good representation from Gene, unlike the previous album, which I think about half of that record's songs suck. But with this one, I mean, I like the track a lot. I like the little bluesy ending to it. I like the breakdown with the electronic drums and all. I mean, it's just a fun Gene song. Was performed briefly on the tour, I think like once or twice, and then dropped from the set, which to me, that is a complaint that I do have, because that they didn't represent this album that well. They only did 2 songs live through the entire tour, and I'll get to those as we go on through the record. But I mean, yeah, they could have left this and the first song in the set throughout the entire tour. But yeah, the rest of this record, I can see why they left it all out of the set. But yeah, Steven, take any way you slice it.
Well, I don't want this song sliced any kind of way, and I really just don't know because that I think that the Jimmy Vaughn trio should be the backing band for this record. But this song is complete doo doo. There's nothing to say, nothing to do. Song called "Love's Walking Away." It's coming out by the Texas Brothers as a single. This song is complete doo doo. So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so we move to the next track, Who Wants to Be Lonely? So this was a video. The video, from what I understand, got banned, and or maybe not banned, but there. I remember on Kiss Exposed, which was the home video they put out after this album, it features the uncensored version, which I can't remember. It may have been banned. I can't remember exactly. I do know there was some controversy about it, and yeah, it said it. No, it doesn't say where it was banned or not. I don't know, but I think it was banned at the time. But I like the song. It's very glam metal inspired. I mean, you could have seen somebody like Rat do this song, or Dokken, or somebody like that. I mean, I like the song. Never performed live by Kiss. It was performed live by Bruce Kulick though, and he did it pretty well. But this is also one of those songs that I think doesn't go over that well because of the production values behind it and all. But I mean, I like the track well enough. It's a good Paul song. So Steven, take Who Wants to Be Lonely?
Well, I mean, this song is commercial, and it's commercial. It's like a commercial on TV. It's very commercialized, and to me, this seems like the third song on the record. Like that's what it seems like to me. So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so the next track number 4, Trial by Fire. So this is kind of Gene not being Gene for a change. This is actually kind of an anthemic type song. It reminds me a lot of It's My Life, which was on the Wendy Williams album, Wow, from I believe the previous year, 84. And why that song was skipped over for this, I don't know, but I do like the song. I think it's very simplistic for what it is, but I think it does do some good for the song. I've always liked this song. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the song Just What I Needed. That's what it reminds me a lot of. And I like that song a lot as well. But yeah, this track I've always had a soft spot for. I've always thought this was just like kind of an underrated Gene song for the time period. And I mean, I get why it wasn't performed live. It's definitely, I guess, what you would consider to be filler, but I still enjoy it though. So Stephen, take Trial by Fire.
Well, this one is really one of basically the worst song I've ever heard in my life. And I mean, I just don't know. This is like the fourth song on the record, and you're already just sitting there like, what the crap? I mean, why? Why? I mean, this is not what you would call a song. This is not a song. This is like hearing a toilet flush. And I wish this was what the toilet was flushing down. Unfortunately, it's not. So back to you.
Alrighty, so the next track on here is I'm Alive. So this is basically a cheesy Paul song if there ever was one. It's not a terrible song. It's very heavy. Kind of reminds me of like a David Lee Roth style song. I like it though, but the lyrics are total freaking cringe all across the board. But like I said, I do like the song. It's basically like Under the Gun Part 2 or Gimme More Part 2. It's kind of in those. It's kind of more Gimme More Part 2 than maybe Under the Gun, but yeah, overall though, I enjoy it. I think it's a cool song. So Stephen, take I'm Alive.
No, it's not. It's dead. I mean, I would rather sit there and watch Halloween Kills than listen to this record. I would pick it over that every day. Devin hated that record. That movie, I loved it. Screw y'all, man. Screw everything. Screw it all. I just don't know. It's not gonna happen with me.
Alrighty, so the next track on here is Love's a Deadly Weapon. So this track, the chorus and all, came from a song from the Elder Sessions from 1981. And it was a Paul song just simply called Deadly Weapons. And the chorus was Love's a Deadly Weapon and Murder's on My Mind. Now, the rest of the song was not what was in the original demo. It was actually only the chorus reused. But overall, though, I enjoy the song for what it is. This one I used to not care as much for. But overall, though, I like the track well enough. I would consider this to be filler, but yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good Gene song for the time period. Like I said, I mean, to me, Gene isn't really that much of a slouch on this record. And so I like this song a lot. So Stephen, take Love's a Deadly Weapon.
Because it ain't Gene. Gene didn't have anything to do with this record. I played on this record. I mean, that's all it is to it. Screw anyone that challenges me. Just screw them. Because I mean, I'm the best. I'm the top of the line guitar player.
So the next track on here is Tears Are Falling. So this was the only single released off the record. It did have a video to accompany it. And I've always enjoyed this song. I've always thought this was a great Kiss song for that time period. Very underrated, in my opinion. It should be on every greatest hits album that comes out. It's a great song. Love the guitar solo by Bruce. They have put it in a set list here and there on the End of the Road tour, which is pretty cool. But overall, I think it deserves its place anytime it's thrown into the set. So Secretly Cruel. So this is Gene doing Gene. I love it so much, but when it comes off clean, it's not going to come off song. So Stephen, take Secretly Cruel.
No. Secrets by Van Halen is a much better record.
Stephen take Radar for Love.
Radar for I mean this song, Radar Love, I mean that's an old classic rock song. So back to you, Devin.
Okay, so the next track is All Night. So that was another video, and it came out in 1986. And they walked up the street to a whore's house, and they found him sitting on the side of the road. So Stephen take All Night.
Well, actually, the song, I mean, I contributed to this song because Paul Stanley at the time he came over to my house. We was on this beachfront house, and Paul was staying at this other part here on the side, and I was staying on the one right next to it.
All right, that's the end of the show. Thank you all for watching. See you next time, and bye bye.